Thank you for joining me. The divine is like a small boat anchored at the shoreline. This boat is ready to take us to magical lands, but there's a catch. We can't bring anything with us. How much do you want to gain from the world? That's pretty much the same question as how complicated do you want life to be? Oftentimes, we think the world is here for our taking. But when we try to conquer the world, it ends up conquering us. We become slaves to everything we try to extract from the world's inhabitants. We may desire intimacy, acceptance, friendship, status, power, some kind of fame. We may desire fleshly passion. We may desire security. And all of these worldly desires can never remain. Everything will slip away because that's the nature of time. We're in this simulation of consciousness for education, for inspiration. This is not a game of the winner takes all. This is why we get karmically reprimanded when we try to exploit the world, or we feel as if we should be exploited by the world. When we follow the ways of humans, we follow them off a cliff. Humans in general try to serve multiple masters, and that's impossible. We cannot connect innocently with the divine whilst going after worldly gain. And I know, but I have to accomplish. But then what? What happens when I abandon worldly gain? The true accomplishment is never something that can be seen from without to within. The true accomplishment is always only visible to oneself. The divine knows where you and I stand in all moments. We can get lost in the sauce. We can try to pull a fast one on creation. But that just creates more karmic baggage. We can all verify for ourselves that the more we try to take from this world, the more complicated our minds become. The complexity that can be felt in the barriers one puts up in front of the heart are very much tied to our motivations. What is motivating you in your decisions? If it is something like greed, if it is something like jealousy, possessiveness, if there is a desire to reign over others, if there is a desire to trick, to cheat, then we become cheated. We cheat ourselves from our own liberation. Freedom doesn't exist in the complexities that the world tempts and taunts us with. Freedom is found in the simplicity of the moment. Simplicity is simple to speak of, but paradoxically it can feel complicated to actualize. Why? Well, because we consent to wild goose chases, and we do this when we lose touch with the eternal now in favor of some glorious future that may or may not materialize. And even if our worldly desires are accomplished, then what? Well, you might already know my answer. Then we're slaves to our attachment. The more we want from this world, the more we cling to fear. Right now, the collective is showing us all of these ugly facets of action, of belief, of interpretation, of perspective, in order that the living souls may come to simplistic divine conclusions. We can chase the white rabbit, but then we just end up in Wonderland. So, instead of complexifying ourselves, instead of allowing the world to override the simplistic beauty that can be unlocked through undivided intention, instead of becoming slaves to the world, let us become advocates for everything healing. And in order to know what heals, we have to be honest. What uplifts? Whatever uplifts, keep doing it, baby. Whatever degrades, whatever distorts, whatever deceives, fling it out of your life like the garbage it is. So this is just a quick message. Anything that the world can offer pales in comparison to the wisdom that can only be unlocked through the innocence of divinity. So let us get on that boat. Let us take only our vast, expanded, open hearts with us. No amount of worldly success, no amount of worldly gain will ever help us get on that boat. You can't bring anything with you in order to get to the magical place we call paradise. We always become victims to our own foolishness. We destroy our own authenticity in the moments that we seek worldly gain. We cannot serve two masters. And I know this seems very boring to people, or it can sound that way, but I think it's boring to lose touch with ourselves in place of some future vision that may manifest but always comes at a cost. And this is why self-knowledge is always the spell that can break us free from our own addiction and attachment to something over there. Now, when I say worldly, when I speak of this worldly attitude, I'm speaking of one that can find no peace unless outer circumstances are such and such. We can stay on the hamster wheel of this and that, but what about breaking free? And once we break free, the world no longer seems that cool. Like, why would you want to gain the world's favor? What if you're one of the gods? What if the gods need your help? What if the only way to make things better on earth is to align yourself with purity and virtue and greatness and creativity and all things healing? How do we do that? We have to pay attention. How do we pay attention? We have to not construct false realities that we may regret. How do we not construct false realities that we may not regret? We have to be aware. How do we be aware? Figure it out. I don't know. There are so many beautiful energies to tap into. There are so many beautiful realities to fly into. But they're not dependent on anything else but the author that is you. And you being the author of your life and of destiny itself should be very aware of what complexifies your consciousness if you want to get out of as much difficulty as possible. There is much difficulty here. There is much to complain about, we could say. But if we take an honest examination at our lives, we will know that most of the difficulties we experience are self-imposed. We ruminate about the future and what it can offer us, and we dwell on the past and how that could affect the future, when we're ignoring the true gift of the present. It's a present here for you and I to unwrap. And that might seem pretty obvious, like, yeah, let's just be in the present moment, but I'm goddamn serious. Okay? It's the greatest gift. And the only reason we would feel troubled by the present is if we're troubled with our behavior in the past, or the potential behavior that could be unleashed in the future, leading to not a simple reference point, not a state that is super digestible and easy to deal with. Simplicity, however, is a state that can't be artificially woven. We have to get to the point where our emotions, our thoughts, our bodies, our interactions are pristine and void of the troubles that end up leading to divine disconnection. We could say there is a vast transformation happening. But that vast transformation is always happening, right? And what are you transforming into? Can you look yourself in the mirror? Truly. I'm just asking questions. Only you can be the judge of what captures you. If we choose to be worldly, if we try to conquer the world, if we try to treat the world as a place for our taking rather than for our ascension, for our education, then we become fools and life gets pretty complex pretty quickly. That's the catch. When we disconnect from ourselves, when we disregard simplicity, which is the same thing as disconnecting from ourselves, we make a mess of our own minds, of our own hearts. And I know this is generally an unpopular opinion, because so many voices in this world tell us to get going and accomplish. But instead of accomplishing something that can end up taking advantage of us, which is the world, how about conquering ourselves? We become conquered by what we try to conquer. So if we try to conquer ourselves, then ourself will conquer ourselves. Life hack. Oh my God. Oh my goddess. Now, why is simplicity, true simplicity, avoided by many? Well, it's because simplicity is not full of emotional highs. Simplicity means we're going to live simply. We're going to be minimalists. We're going to always strive to do what uplifts, what genuinely uplifts, and avoid and ignore all that degrades and distorts. This leaves us in a position to reduce all of the noise. And there's a lot of noise here, and it's chatting, and it's trying to catch your consciousness. It's trying to catch your attention. There's a lot of chitter-chatter here. And it wants you. It wants to grab a hold of you. Falsity always advertises itself as truth, does it not? And there's usually much truth in lies. That's why discernment is very important, but we can only have discernment when our intention is pure. Let me explain. When we want to conquer the world, meaning we have a motivation to exploit something out here, we make a mockery of the true dictates of the divine. We muddy the connection, the phone lines between our current selves and our greatest selves. Well, how can I get what I want if I'm unattached? I feel you, babe. I feel you. But why do you want what you want? Like, a lot of people will say, I want fame, I want wealth, I want status, I want love, I want acceptance, I want sex, I want security, I want maybe bottles of booze or, what have you. And what's at the root of these desires? And we all know, we can foolishly say, well, that's what humans do. I desire this because that's just what I desire. It's like, yeah, that's not good enough, because what we desire ends up trapping us. You want to conquer something, it's going to conquer you. Being worldly obviously does not go well for many people. Maybe you've seen, whether it's celebrities or yourself or beings in your own life, how the more we try to win over the world and others in the world, the more we lose ourselves. When we're unsettled in the present, the past and the future takes on greater importance. And that's a pretty stressful way to exist. That's a pretty stressful mode to be in. Who cares if you're accepted by the world? I mean, everyone here is here to learn, here to undergo many difficulties until snapping out of the dream, in which case we have the opportunity to transcend this world. We could call the cycle we're in birth and death, samsara, reincarnation, whatever your idea of what we're in. I think most of us can tap into what this is ourselves. This is simply a show. And if we get lost as spectators, well, we will be in our seats for quite a bit. So instead of being a mere spectator, instead of wanting the world to wow us, why don't we take it upon ourselves to kick some worldly booty? In my eyes, this means not complexifying ourselves, not exploiting the world or feeling as if we should be exploited by the world. In my eyes, this means we're going to realize what uplifts and continue everything that does so, and then realize what destroys, cutting all of that garbage out, all of that complexity out.